The book is called Letters to a Dead Friend About Zen, and that's pretty much what it is. It is a series of letters written to my dead friend about Zen. In the year 2014, I was on tour in Europe. It's something I do every year since 2009. But what made this tour different is that this time 2 friends of mine back home in America were dying of cancer. And I framed the book as a series of letters written to a kind of a composite of these 2 people as I am touring through Europe. So each letter comes from a different city. I think there's a few that where 2 letters in a row come from the same city. And I also incorporated real things that actually happened to me on tours. A lot of funny things, or sometimes they're funny in retrospect and not so funny when they're actually happening. I used a lot of these real events in the book and kind of made it into a story almost like a novel. So it doesn't read so much like your ordinary kind of nonfiction book about Zen or a philosophical sort of book about Zen, but reads as a kind of a narrative of me traveling through Europe as my friend has just died and saying all the things I wish I'd said about Zen to him. Well, when he was dying, when I was spending 2 different weeks with him while he was dying and knew he was going to be on his way out pretty soon, I thought, well, if I'm dying, I don't want somebody to come into my house and tell me about their religion and try to convert me at the deathbed conversion. That's not a nice thing to do to somebody. So I just wanted to be real with him. And the reason I'd never talked to him about it before that was, it just wasn't our relationship. That isn't what we bonded on. That isn't what we had in common with each other. What we had in common with each other was a love of bad science fiction movies, a love of punk rock music, and things like that. And that's what we bonded over. So there are some people you can talk to about certain things, and there's some people that it just doesn't work. Yet I felt like both of these people that I was thinking of when I wrote the book, I had a kind of curiosity about these things. And I thought, well, maybe there's a lot of people like that who are interested in the deeper meanings of life, who might be able to benefit from some of the things Zen philosophy and Zen practice has to offer, but who'll never get it if it's just presented the way it usually is presented, in this sort of flowery fashion, in the sort of books that you ordinarily get about Zen. So I thought, well, let me see if I can reach people like that. Because I got into Zen, not because, I think I'll be interested in Zen. It's because some really heavy things were happening in my life. My mother had been diagnosed with this genetic disorder that not only was she going to die from, but it was possible that I could inherit it. So I learned this shocking news when I was 16 or 17 years old. And when I got to be about 19 or 20 is when I encountered Zen. So all of this stuff was going on in my mind, so it was urgent stuff. And in fact, it wouldn't have been a path that I would have chosen if I had gone to it the usual way. For example, if I'd wandered into one of these big centers in America like San Francisco Zen Center or Brooklyn Zen Center or Upaya Zen Center or some of these giant places that exist in America these days, and if I'd seen those golden statues and smelled the incense and looked at the flowers and seen the guys with the shaved heads and the robes and all that stuff, I probably would have gone for the hour-long intro class and been like, bye, see ya, I'll talk to you later. But that isn't how I got introduced to it. I got introduced to it by a foul-mouthed, strange guy named Tim McCarthy, who was a hilarious, funny guy and a really warm, caring person. And because I had that connection with him, that's what drew me into Zen. So I understand why people would be reluctant to get into something like Zen, and I want to try to present it in a different way so that maybe the people who normally wouldn't be interested in it might get interested in it.